movement was begun by a scientist who discovered, quite by accident, these signals being sent. Please understand, they are safe as long as they are not discovered.
A kill list was intercepted. It says everyone in this room will be dead. You're number 2 on the list. Well, who's number 1? An unknown, a civilian.
Look out for Charlie.
I want him down.
They say that people believe what they want to believe, but that's not always the case. Most of the time, that is the case. But there are people out there who have changed their beliefs and their worldview based on the evidence that they found. I'm one of those people. I would much rather believe that everything that I've found is paranormal and it's proof of another dimension or another world and the thinness between our dimensions, but that's not what's going on. I've found too many man-made screw-ups and signals within these signals themselves. What I want to talk about is Dave Politis and a story that he's told over the years. I'm going to play just a very short version of his story in audio format right now.
I said that we're in an area near where somebody disappeared, and I clapped real loud, and out of the woods came the sound of almost, like a stampede.
So they were standing next to this swamp, and he clapped his hands, and they heard this stampede coming through the swamp, right? They were basically ready to run for it. So when he clapped, it set this off, and this sound came running at them and sent them running. But they never saw anything. They just heard it, audio, right? And this has happened over and over and over with people. It is mind-numbing. So he starts getting these letters from people talking about Native Americans and clapping their hands, and when you clap, it releases all the bad energy in the area and all this stuff, and goes on and on. This is no different than what I showed you happened in Ghost Adventures. So in this scene, Zach Baggins sort of punches his hand, and while this guy is using a tri-field meter, this doctor, he gets a big spike when Baggins punches his hand. And then they start talking about how it's interacting with their bodies. Check this out.
That's what happens. It comes in and it'll hit me. Why would that happen?
Your body's in some way it's in some way affecting the electromagnetic field here.
So he says that it's in some way affecting the electromagnetic field here, which is absolutely right. But it's not ghosts, and it's not demons, and it's not negative energy from spirits in the spirit realm creating a stampede sound running at you. It's just, what? This can be proven everywhere, just like the videos that I did on Deathheart Productions. He did a video where he was out hunting and had some really weird stuff start to happen. And when you start to analyze the audio, you can hear it. It is the eye of God weapon. It's weaponized. It's the eye of God. And the eye of God is not really an eye at all. It's a sonar, seismic type surveillance system that is monitoring actions and sound in a certain area. And that's really important to understand. So these people out there are all proving the same thing and then believing what they want to believe about it, whether it's demons or bad energy being released or whatever, and not thinking rationally and not thinking logically, what could this be? Because it wasn't happening the same way it was before. I believe that this ELF type thing can happen in nature, but never ever in the abundance that it happens today. And it's a two-way communication system that's pretty much been proven over and over and over. And they just will not accept that this is technology and not what they think it is. And once again, this was probably originally invented by somebody with good intentions to find lost people seismically and guide them out of danger. We can find anybody seismically and then guide them out of being lost. Imagine how awesome that would be. But instead, it was weaponized. and turned into this eugenics type test for people. And it gets people scared and lost in remote areas all the time because they think something's following them. They never see anything. They only hear sounds of these things getting really close to them. They take off running. They get themselves lost. And once in a while they're found, but most of the time they die. And when they do see something, the way they describe it, it is blue beam style bullshit. Every time. They see stuff vanish, disappear, fade. Just absolute blue beam style bullshit. They even have these Ukrainian people convinced that it's UFOs that are helping them destroy Russian equipment. Seriously.
There's some miracle happened. It looked like some spaceship, like there was like an attack from the spaceship.
Officials claim that UFOs were helping win the war against the Russian invaders. Really, dude? And this is how they frame it, and people believe it. Seriously, people are believing it. UFOs, alien UFO tech, all this bullshit. And it's just amazing to me that people still believe this in 2021. They're not scratching their head. So it is true that people believe what they want to believe, but not all people do this. You have to understand that. Investigating this for so many years has completely changed my worldview. Totally. And if your worldview doesn't change from something like this, then you are just refusing to see some very truthful angles to this technology and what it does and how it works. Now, this is seismic surveillance. It is seismic and audio surveillance. It is surveilling vibration. So it is sizing you up. It is summing you up according to the vibrations that you are making. If you are by yourself and you are not talking, it is going to be very confusing to the system if you are doing something else. Let's listen to what David Politis says about hiking poles.
One little tidbit of information. They said that Richard was hiking with white Trek hiking poles. When I first started to comprehensively classify missing people, I noticed that there were a lot of people missing that were using hiking poles. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's always reported when they are using poles. But at the beginning, and I haven't heard it lately, and Richard was one of the rare cases I've heard in the last couple of years where I heard of someone missing using hiking poles.
Because when they first started doing this, they were testing so much on animals. And you've heard about these. It gets blamed on aliens and UFOs and all this BS. Listen, the reason why something happened to him when he was out using hiking poles is because when he was using that's 4 limbs. So seismically, he was coming up as a 4-limbed creature. Do you understand what I'm saying? Those are 4 limbs going through the snow. So this system classified him, that guy, and everybody else as a 4-legged creature using hiking poles. That's what's going on. It's that simple. So he said in the beginning, most of these people were using hiking poles, but this is one of the rare cases where I saw it recently because it went from testing on animals to testing on humans.
Poles. But at the beginning, and I haven't heard it lately, and Richard was one of the rare cases I've heard in the last couple of years where I heard of someone missing using hiking poles.
So there you go. It's a very simple answer when you don't think about it like you want to think about it. You think about it where the evidence takes you and how this works and the history of who and what has been experimented on over the years. And I just wanted to point this out to people that if you think about this rationally, you don't believe what you want to believe. You believe in where the evidence takes you. That's it for now. Look out for Charlie. That's it for now. Look out for Charlie.
Oh, man. I like this kid. This fucking guy's crazy.
Look out for Charlie.
I want that son of a bitch dead. I want him dead.